We'll see if this is on. Good afternoon. We're so glad that each of you have come. How many of you have been to any of our other seminars? Has anyone? Yeah, as a church, we have a passion. We want to help people and trying to do so. If you have other suggestions of classes that you think would be beneficial, we'd love to know. But before we start, if you don't mind, I'd just like to have a word of prayer and ask for God's presence. Heavenly Father, we thank you for life. We thank you that you enable us to grow things, and for that, how seeds, we don't have any control over that, but Father, we just ask that you will continue to teach us and guide us. We ask for your blessing this afternoon. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're very thankful that Steve was willing to come and share. He's done a lot in a variety of ways, but he's really passionate about his sprouts and his microgreens. So I know we're glad that he can share that with you this afternoon. So Steve, I'll turn the time over to you. And at the end, we have a number of different drawings that we'll do after Steve has completed his presentation. So.
Okay, check 1, 2, we're on. Okay, good. All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. I am Steve Wahlberg. I didn't have to get on an airplane and fly here from Southern California or Arizona or Texas. I live about a half hour from here in Priest River. My wife and my kids, you don't see my wife on that picture, but you can see our 2 kids, Seth and Abby. They're quite a bit older now. Abby's 17 and Seth is in college. Abby's getting ready for college. We've lived up here for about 15 years, and we love North Idaho. So this is a wonderful place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a slide presentation about sprouts and microgreens, the benefits of growing them and eating them, and some of the excuses people use not to do it, and I'll blow those excuses away because it's not as hard as you think. And then after that, I'll have a Q&A. Oh, no, actually, before that, I'll do a little demonstration on what these are and how I grew them, and then we'll have a question and answer period. So does that sound good? Okay, and I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for coming. It's no fun to do this with nobody here. So anyway, the incredible health benefits of growing and eating live sprouts and microgreens. Here's a Bible verse, and I've got this verse right here. I'm a strong believer in the Bible. I'll read it from my Bible. 3 John verse 2 says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers." So God is not only concerned about our spiritual life, but he's concerned about our physical life too. He wants us to be healthy, and there's a lot of principles in the Bible. What we call the 8 laws of health, they're world-renowned basic principles, and if everybody would just do more of these, we would be a lot healthier than we are today. We were just chatting over here how it's amazing that America has the most sophisticated healthcare system in the world practically, and yet we are dying with chronic diseases and things that are much worse in America than in other countries. So anyway, the 8 laws of health are basically based upon a word. There's actually an institute in Northern California called Weimar Institute, and they have a whole program called New Start. And New Start is an acronym for different health principles. So you can see them up there. The N in New Start stands for nutrition. The E is exercise, W water, S sunlight, T for temperance or self-control, not eating too many of the bad things. And then fresh air, which we get a lot of here in North Idaho, and rest, not overdoing it. And then the last T is for trust in God. And there are physicians around the world that are very aware of what they call lifestyle medicine, and they just basically teach, the basic principles that if we would exercise more, if we eat a better diet, if we get more sunlight and the vitamin D, if we get a good night's sleep, and some of the basics, get the fresh air, our bodies will respond to that. Now, there's no guarantee. You can do everything right and you can still get sick, but if we follow these principles, we will raise our health and we will lessen the risk of getting chronic diseases and dying before our time. And of course, disease is very expensive as well. So in this particular seminar, I'm going to focus on the N up at the top, on nutrition. And the nutrition is very important these days. And I think most of us know that that Americans need to improve in that area, right? You've ever heard the expression, the standard American diet? And if you look at the acronym for that, it's SAD, which is SAD. Standard American diet is SAD. And we eat too much junk food, we're couch potatoes, we just sit around, and we don't take care of our bodies. And that's just an example. And so we get sick. And as I mentioned, there's no guarantee, everybody gets sick. But the more we do for our bodies, we lessen the risk of something serious happening to us. Now, if you go back to the beginning of the Bible, in Genesis 1:29, when God first made the world, he told Adam and Eve, here's the statement there, God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, and to you it shall be for food." So if you go back to the basic core of the food chain, it's seeds. Seeds are really miraculous little, they're not really creatures, but they're, these little stockpiles of nutrition are amazing. So how many of you are looking forward to getting in your garden? And yeah, I know. We had a few days where the sun was it's like spring was here. But then the cold came, and March is, back and forth. Once we get into April, and then into May, it's going to be really nice. And so when we go out into our garden and we plant a little seed, seeds are amazing. Seeds are full of nutrients. But more than that, when you water a seed, it becomes activated and it begins to grow. And what happens is the nutrient content that's in the seed, the original seed, it starts multiplying as well. It's a little bit like, the parallel's not perfect, but at conception. So you have a sperm, coming into the egg, and the egg gets fertilized, and you have one fertilized egg, which is called a zygote. That's how people get here. And what happens is that little fertilized egg, it has a lot of nutrients in it, but it doubles. It just somehow can split itself in half, and all the nutrients that are on one side are now on the other side. It's kind of like a Xerox machine. You Xerox, and now you have 2 papers, and then you have 4 papers. And so the 1 becomes 2, the 2 becomes 4, the 4 becomes 8. And to me, it's a very miraculous process that inside every cell is the DNA and all of the instructions for 4 to become 8, 8 to become 16, 16 to become 32, and all the instructions to produce your brain, your liver, your lungs, your eyes are all in that process, which to me, personally, I do not believe in evolution. I believe in God. I don't believe this is the result of chance, that this could have happened. And so something similar happens with a seed, that when you put a seed in the ground, or when you put a seed in water, and I'll tell you more about this. This is a jar of lentil sprouts, and I started these 3 days ago. And all I did was put a little bit of seeds in there, just regular lentils, and then I filled it up with water, and after, sometimes I wait 4 hours, 8 hours, even 12 hours, sometimes I do it overnight. What happens is the seeds will double in size. You'll just see them double right up. And then I pour out the water, and then I rinse them twice a day, or sometimes once a day. And after 3 days, I started these Thursday afternoon, so today's Sunday afternoon, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I've got a whole jar here full of lentil sprouts. And I'll let you see these later, and it's amazing. And there's I didn't fertilize them. I didn't add any mulch or anything like that. All of this is just seeds and water. That's it. So when a seed gets exposed to water, and it becomes activated, whether it's under the ground or in a jar, it starts growing, and the nutrient content just multiplies dramatically. Yes, you had a question, Lynn?
Those are just regular grocery store.
Yeah, those are regular grocery store, Walmart, Super One. You can probably get them right down the street at, was it Mitchell's, right?
Millers.
Or, yeah, Miller's. Yeah, there's a Mitchell's in Priest River. So that's all it does. And so once the seed begins to grow, what's happening is its nutrient content is just exploding off the chart. And it just does this on its own. So there is a website that you can go to called the International Sprout Growers Association. And this is a website that is loaded with scientific research and evidence for the health benefits of growing sprouts. And if you go up to About Sprouts, and if you scroll down in the menu, you'll see there's one section called Nutrition. And if you click on this link, it will take you to many articles that will show you the scientific evidence of how much nutrition there is in a seed when it begins to grow. So let's see, here's some of the articles. Here's one of them called View Sprout Nutrition and Disease Prevention in PDF format. So you click this and it'll bring up all these articles. Here's one about cardiovascular health, hypertension, which is high blood pressure, atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of the artery, and anti-aging, oxidative stress. And then this article shows how broccoli sprouts are loaded with nutrients that will help counteract these diseases. Yes?
Did you say it's isga.com?
ISG, I believe it's the International Sprout Growers Association. Let me see if I go back there. I guess it doesn't show the website on this. Yeah, okay, .org.
Thank you.
Sure. So anyway, this site is just loaded with scientific evidence for the benefits of growing sprouts. Here's one of the articles there that says researchers at the universities of Pennsylvania and Minnesota, Yale and McGill, have found that sprouts retain the B complex vitamins present in the original seed and show a big jump in vitamin A and an almost unbelievable amount of vitamin C over that present in the unsprouted seeds. The figures are impressive, an average 300% increase in vitamin A and a 500 to 600% increase in vitamin C. In addition, in the sprouting process, starches are converted to simple sugars, thus making sprouts easily digestible. So there's a lot of research that has gone into this. And one of the things that they found out is that there's a continuum of the growth of nutrients. So when you have a seed, there's a lot of nutrients in the seed. But when you sprout it and it starts to multiply, there's a lot more seeds in a sprout. And then if you grow them farther to what's called the microgreen stage, and these are called microgreens because they're not like what's in your garden, but they're big enough to get chlorophyll from the sunlight. And the researchers have found that the highest and most dense amount of nutrients is in the microgreen stage. And they found that even if you grow broccoli sprouts in your garden, and then you grow and you get the full head of broccoli and cut that off and put it in your salad or steam it or whatever you do, there's a lot more, pound for pound, there's a lot more nutrition in the broccoli microgreen stage, something like this, if this was a tray of broccoli microgreens, as compared to the full head that's in the garden. So I'm a big gardener. I like growing broccoli in my garden, but you cannot beat the microgreens from the broccoli. So here's another article by a man named Steve Meyerowitz. He's dead now. They called him the Sprout Man. He was world famous. He died. I think he was in a car accident in his 60s or his 70s, and he had his cardiovascular system looked at before he died, and it was like a teenager. I mean, he was extremely healthy. He has developed a whole business and company. He's got books that he's written, and he started in a apartment in New York, and he tells his story. And he had all these allergies. He was sick. He wasn't well. He lived by himself, and he started experimenting with growing sprouts. And so he turned his kitchen into a garden, and then he started sharing them with his neighbors, and as a result of getting all this nutrition, all of his allergies went away. And he just, rather than getting tested, well, you can't eat a peanut, you can't eat this or can't eat that, he just grew sprouts and cured the whole thing. That's what he did, yeah. And so he became world famous, but then, like I said, he died in a car accident. So here's his article in Vitality magazine called Sprouts, the Miracle Food. And this is what he wrote. Biologists tell us that in the first 5 to 10 days, young plants achieve their maximum nutrient density. In other words, they are more nutritious than at any other point in their growth. These babies are literally overflowing with rapidly multiplying enzymes, vitamins, proteins, and minerals needed for the development of the mature vegetable. B vitamins alone increase 300 to 1,500% in just 3 to 6 days. Now, I'm not saying that we should never take supplements, but you can't beat the natural form of these vitamins that are in nature. You just can't do it. So he's done a lot of research on this. Here's one slide about the health benefits of growing sprouts. They aid in your digestion. They boost your immune system. They aid in weight management because you get calories, but there's not a lot of bulk. There's not a lot of fat, not a lot of processed food. There's no processed food in that. So it's good for weight management. Protects your body against cancer, especially broccoli sprouts. They improve blood circulation in the body, help to reduce risk of heart ailments, help in growth and development of the body, reduce the risk of neural tube defects in infants, help to prevent cataracts and macular degeneration, inhibit the growth of cold sores, and reduce the effect of allergic reactions and asthma. And the list just goes on and on and on. The health benefits of sprouts. Now, I never say that sprouts are a cure-all, that if you eat a lot of sprouts, you're never going to get sick. I certainly don't say that. But there's no question, the scientific research shows that growing sprouts and microgreens is good for you. And sometimes, I tell people, well, I think I'm doing pretty good for 95. I've been sprouting for... No, I'm sorry. I'm not 95, but I'm almost 66, pushing 66. And I've been sprouting since I was about 17 years old. I grew up in the Hollywood Hills, Southern California. I grew up in a home that was not a Christian home. We didn't read the Bible. When I was a teenager, I got lost in the world of drugs and alcohol, just the wild life. When I was 20 years old, I started reading the Bible and everything changed for me. I gave up the bad things, but I kept the sprouting. I started sprouting when I was about 17, and even though I was smoking marijuana and using drugs, something told me inside me that I need to do something good for myself to offset the bad things that I was doing. So I started growing sprouts as a teenager. It's kind of funny, I'd go to we'd smoke marijuana and then we'd go to the health food store and eat sprout sandwiches. But so when I became a Christian, I left off the drugs and the bad life. Now I'm happily married, my wife and my kids. We live a half hour from here, and God has changed my life. He's definitely given me a reason.
Sprouts too? Your whole family? Do you kind of have
Sometimes. It depends on the sprouts. This is really more my thing, but when I grow the sunflower sprouts, especially even when the kids were little, and when I'd bring a tray of this into the house, and I'd say, Abby or Seth, do you want some sunflowers? Oh, yeah. We'd call them sunnies. Do you want some sunnies? Oh, yeah, Dad, give me the sunnies. So I'd cut them, and I'd put them in a bowl, and I'd put a little bit of salt, a little bit of nutritional yeast, and they would just down those things. I mean, they taste like sunflowers. They're sunflower seeds. They're mild. They have a good flavor, and if you add a little seasoning, my kids they devoured this. That's right, yes.
Can we put them right in our garden?
Can you put them in your garden?
Yeah, just take them right from the tray and plant.
You can try. I mean, people do grow sunflowers here. I used to live in North Dakota, and there were huge fields of sunflower, fully grown with the big yellow heads and all the seeds, and so that's where they get the seeds.
But the microgreens, can we take them?
I imagine you could, but if these grow too long, they'll get bitter. So I typically, if you have, like these have leaves that are growing, if you get the second set of leaves and they start growing, then they're not as mild tasting. So this is the stage to eat them. So anyway, so I believe personally that having a regular habit of growing sprouts and microgreens has definitely helped my body. I think I would probably look older right now if I hadn't adopted this as a habit. Now, it's not my only habit. Like I exercise too. I go to the gym in Priest River, and I like to run around my neighborhood. Even in the snow, I have shoes, running shoes that have cleats on them, and to me, there's nothing better than getting out in the snow and jogging around my neighborhood with my dog. I love doing that. So there's lots of different things. Sometimes I tell people health is not an instrument, it's an orchestra. In other words, it's a combination of things that you do. Getting a good night's sleep, getting your exercise, getting your fresh air. So it's a combination of things, but one of those things is nutrition. And you cannot beat as far as the amount of nutrients that you're getting in sprouts and microgreens. I mean, it's at the top of the charts. So I love it, and I've been doing it for a long time, and I'm going to keep doing it for sure. So here's another slide about the health benefits of bean sprouts. A lot of them are the same. From the other slide, good source of protein, rich in fiber, which helps things move along your digestive tract. Low calories, increases fertility, protects against cancer, good for your skin and beauty, improves your digestive process, helps your eyes, prevents anemia, reduces blood pressure, lowers cholesterol, used in salads, improves your immune system, enhanced gastric activity. The list just goes on and on and on of the benefits of growing these little guys. So I put together a PDF called My Top 10 Reasons Why I Sprout. And some of these I've already explained those. But the first one there is much or most of the food that people eat is either dead or heavily processed. When you grow and eat freshly cut sprouts, you are eating nutritionally loaded live food that is far superior to practically anything you can eat. Number two, and I already mentioned this, when the seed begins to germinate, all these different nutrients just multiply. And so you're getting, here it says, sprouts are powerhouses of nutrition. Number three, when you grow and eat your own sprouts and microgreens, you are eating organic food that has not been sprayed with cancer-causing pesticides like Roundup. We were talking about Roundup a little while ago. Organic food is expensive, and growing your own is much cheaper. You can go to the market or the grocery store and get a little container of sprouts that might cost you $4 or $5. You can buy a bag of seeds, and you can grow 10 times for about the same amount of money. So you're getting a lot more when you do it yourself. Number four, when you buy fruits and vegetables in a supermarket, they usually have been harvested weeks before you buy them. And during each stage of storage, when they harvest them, then they store them, they transport them, and then they sit in the produce section, they are slowly losing nutritional value. But when you eat freshly harvested homegrown sprouts immediately, which is what I usually do, you get their fullest nutrient content. So if you take this jar of lentils and take the lid off and pour it into your salad, there's no transit time, they're non-GMO, there's no pesticides. It's just you're getting the full deal right there. Okay, number five, purchased at a supermarket, the average price, so I mentioned this, for a plastic container of alfalfa sprouts is about $4. But if you buy a small packet of alfalfa seeds and grow yourself, you may get 10 times the sprouts for the same price. Number six, even if you don't have land, a garden, or an orchard, you can still grow all of these things inside and eat fresh, non-GMO organic vegetables every day. This is one of the great benefits of growing sprouts, is that you don't have to have land, you don't have to have a big garden, you don't have to have a green thumb. You can do this easily inside of your house, in your kitchen. Number seven, even if you don't have a green thumb, you can still learn to grow beautiful, mouth-watering, fresh sprouts and microgreens like a pro. Number eight, even if you have limited space in your house or apartment, all you need is a sink, some seeds, a jar or two, some small containers, and small places on your windowsill or in your cupboard to grow lots of fresh sprouts. So space is really not an issue. Sprouts and microgreens are high in fiber, which helps undigested food pass quickly from the body so it doesn't have time to rot within, contributing to colon cancer. People eat a lot of food. Well, fiber is in plants. So even animals, they get their nutrients originally from the plants. So like if a mountain lion kills a deer and gets the meat from the deer, there's no fiber in that meat, which means that it moves more slowly through the digestive tract. That's why lions have short digestive tracts. God designed them that way so that food will move quickly. But even if the lion eats the deer, where'd the deer get his nutrients? From the grass. And he got that from the seed. And this is where the fiber is. There's no fiber in animal products. There's not any of it. So fiber is the undigested part of a plant that when you eat it, there's a part of it that doesn't get digested. And so it acts like a broom and it helps sweep things through. So the transit time from one end to the other end is quicker when you've got fiber, which comes from plants. And if you don't eat any fiber, and I know one man who doesn't, I don't think he hardly eats any vegetables. He has a complete meat diet. And his wife had colon cancer. And I'm thinking, I know this man, I know his kids, his wife, and I'm thinking to myself, you need to get some fiber in your system or you're going to be potentially, at risk to repeat what happened to your wife. And thankfully, her wife got over this. But colon cancer is a big issue these days. And one of the reasons for it is because people don't drink enough water, which helps move things through quicker, and people don't have fiber, which moves things through quicker. And so this is a not a good situation, and you get the fiber in the plants. Okay, let's see. Number 10, sprouts and microgreens contain powerful properties that will enhance your immune system, which helps your body fight deadly diseases like cancer. Bonus reason growing sprouts and microgreens is fun. You will love it. I love it. Now, here's my another PDF, 8 reasons why people don't grow sprouts. Here's the excuses. And number 1 is they say, I'm too busy. I don't have time to do this. And my answer is, no, you're not too busy. Once you learn what to do, it only takes a few seconds or minutes each day to grow lots of super healthy sprouts. So, like I mentioned with the lentils, how long does it take to grab a jar and pour some lentils in there and put some water in it and let it sit on the counter? That takes probably a minute. And then the next day, you just pour out the water, which takes 15 seconds or less, and then you just let it sit. You don't do anything. And then in the evening, you do the same thing. You just pour in the water and pour out the water. So I tell people you give it a bath once to soak them and get them going, and then you give them a shower twice a day. You just put the water in, water out, water in, water out. So literally you can spend less than 5 minutes growing this jar. So when people say, I don't have time to do this, I'm too busy, is that true? But again, people need to know what to do. So once you learn what to do with certain things like lentils, and you can do the same jar method with lentils, with peas, with barley, with rye, mung, it's the same process. And it literally takes seconds or minutes a day to do that, and you can do it. So I'm too busy to sprout isn't correct. But again, people need to know what to do. Number 2, I don't have enough room in my house or my garden or my apartment to sprout. My response is, yes, you do. All you need is a sink, a small jar, a small packet of seeds, a small space on your windowsill, counter, or inside your cabinet. Almost everyone has enough room where they live to grow plenty of mega nutritious sprouts. So you can grow them in your bathroom. You can grow them on your counter or under your sink or your cabinet. Yes.
So they don't need light?
No, the sprouts don't need light. So this is a sprout. Sprouts are when it starts growing a little tail, and you can come up and look at these later. But sprouts are when they've got a little tail here, And this, there's no light, there's no nutrients, there's no fertilizer, there's nothing. And then you got this little sprout here, little lentil seed with a tail. See that? That's the root coming out. So this is called a sprout. And you need no sunlight, no nutrients, very little time, and these babies are loaded with vitamin E and all kinds of nutrients, good for your brain, good for a whole host of organs in your body. And so now, then you grow them, when you grow them bigger, which is where it takes a little more time, it's true, to grow them bigger into the microgreen stage. So this is red cabbage, this is buckwheat, this is sunflower, the king of microgreens, this is purple Rambo radish, and I'll explain more in a little bit how I grew these, and this is wheatgrass. So there's a lot of variety on how to do this, and this is a little more labor intensive if you want to take the next step. But to grow sprouts in a jar, anybody can do it once you just learn how to do it. It's very simple.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Are those ready to eat?
Yes, I think I might grow them a little bit bigger and then take a little scissors and
No,
just.
I mean the jar.
Oh yes, these are ready.
So just,
Yeah, I mean, I do different things with them. I put them in my granola. I put them in my oatmeal. I put them on my salads. You can put them in all kinds of dishes. And lentil sprouts are very mild, so they don't have a strong flavor. It's kind of like tofu. So if whatever seasoning you put on your tofu, that's what it tastes like. It's the same with lentils. Whatever seasoning you use, that's what it tastes like. But it's easy to do, yes.
To understand that you went into the nutrition, are sprouts being younger more nutritious than microgreens?
No. This is the stage where there's the most nutrition. Like I mentioned that continuum. But there's still a lot. So if you take just a bag of lentils from the market and you cook them, and then you have lentil soup. My wife just made me some lentil soup with some potatoes. It's very good. And I'm getting a lot of nutrition in just lentils that have been cooked. But when I sprout the lentils into the sprouting stage, there's more nutrition. And when the seed gets bigger and you get chlorophyll from the sunlight, there's more nutrition. But you can still get a lot just from this, a lot. So it's worth doing, for sure. So let's see, sprouting is too expensive, I can't afford it. My response is, yes, you can. Most of us have enough money to buy gas and groceries. Unless you're very, very poor, you do have enough money to grow sprouts. Of course, you can spend a lot or a little, but it only takes a little to get started. And the health benefits will save you money in the long run. Less medicine, fewer trips to the doctor, less time away from work, etc. It's definitely an investment in your life to grow sprouts. It's benefiting your body, which is going to cut your costs in the long run. You'll get sick less. You'll be miserable less. You'll have to pay, less to go to the doctor and take time away from work. I rarely get sick. My wife got, about 2 months ago, some kind of a flu. So I guess it was really hitting Bonner County. And she said there was a local school that decided to close the school because half the kids had it. So and she had it for a month, and I didn't get it. But finally, after a month or so, it got me. But it wasn't severe. And all that's left now is I have a little bit of a cough. But I rarely get sick. I work at an office with people in Priest River, our ministry called White Horse Media, and they can tell you that a lot of the, sometimes different people have to stay home because they're sick, but that rarely happens to me. And I believe it's because of, knock on wood, God's blessing, my exercise habits, and my sprouting and eating good food. I think it's contributing to the fact that I don't get sick very often. So number 4, some people say, well, I'm healthy enough, I don't need to sprout. My response is, good health is one of your greatest treasures. If we lose it, we've lost a lot.
Eating sprouts regularly is one of the best ways to prevent future sickness. Who knows what tomorrow will bring? Especially as we get older, protecting our health is a smart thing to do. That's for sure. Okay, number 5. Sprouts probably don't taste good. People say, I'll pass. I don't want to eat that. I'd rather just stick with my, whatever else I'm eating. Okay, my response is many sprouts and microgreens really do taste good. They add a zest to a salad, to a sandwich, or a wrap. Add your favorite seasoning, and the taste of sprouts is often unnoticed, but the health benefits are still off the charts. I'm a big salad guy. I love salads. So in the summer, when my garden's growing, my kale and my tomatoes and whatever else, I'm making salads. But when it gets too cold to grow in my garden, then this is it. So I don't worry about the fact that when the winter comes, I can't grow anything, because I can grow things in my house. I know how to do it. And so for me, there's really nothing like having a live, complete sprout microgreen salad with some lemon and some avocado and some nutritional yeast, and sometimes I put a little Vegenaise, different things, added to my salad, and it's just, if you've never had a salad that's all alive, I mean, it's really, once you get used to this, you just want it. Your body wants it. And so I love it. I think it's great, and it's very healthy. Number 6, people say, well, I don't have a green thumb. My wife says she's got a black thumb. She can't grow anything. She said, if I try to grow anything, it's going to die. And I said, well, you can learn how to grow sprouts, honey, or you can eat the sprouts that I grow. And she loves these. I mean, she will eat these for sure. Okay, I don't have a green thumb. I can't do this. Yes, you can. A child can learn how to grow simple sprouts. You can do it. Number 7, I'm not convinced that sprouts are so fabulous for my health. I will stick with my cheeseburger. So my response, to learn the scientific facts, you can go to the Sprout Growers Association website that I showed you. So this is not just opinion. This is real research by scientists who can show you that the benefits are there. The nutrients are there. It's not just a theory. Okay, practical tips how to grow sprouts and microgreens. Now I'm just going to give you a quick overview. I actually do have a whole course on this, and at the end I'll have a slide up there. My website is sproutingwithsteve.com, and for under $50 you can join, and I walk you through the whole thing so you can see it from start to finish. So, and people can join the course if you want to, but I'm going to give you a little overview of how to do this, just because this is a class and we want to be good to you, and we want to, even if you join the course or not, we want to help you. That's why we're doing this. So as I mentioned, lentil sprouts are the easiest thing to do, and the same method applies to peas, to barley, which is a grain, and rye. It's the same thing. You just put the seeds in, you fill it up with water, you soak them for 4 or 5 hours or 6 hours. Sometimes you can do it. You can also do it at night. Put the seeds in, put the water in, and soak them overnight. In the morning, you just pour out the water. You can get these little lids, sprouting lids. You can get probably a dozen of them for a few dollars on Amazon. They're called sprouting lids, and they've got holes on the top. And so look at that. Isn't that nice? And this is only 3 days. So give them a bath once, give them a shower twice a day, and this is what you'll get. And so this is very simple to do. Yes?
Are you particular about the water you use?
Yeah, good question. I've done this many times in front of audiences, and that question always comes up. I think the cleaner your water is, the better. But if you don't have access to really good water, do it anyway, because you're still going to get more benefit. So we have a well on our property. We've got 5 acres. Our well's about 300 feet down. We had it tested when we first moved down here, and the water is good. We didn't find levels of any uranium or anything like that in our water, and so that's what I use. Our whole family just uses the well water. If your water's not that good, if you want to filter it through some kind of filtration system, it's better. But like I said, if you just do use the water that you've got, or just start with that, you're still going to get a lot more benefit than if you don't do it. Yes.
Same subject. We have well water too, but I have a water softener.
Okay.
Any detriment to that? It puts a little salt in the water, takes the iron out.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. You might want to do a little more research on that, but I don't think it's going to, like I said, I still think the benefits
Yeah.
are going to outweigh. I mean, everything is a risk reward these days. You know, we have to kind of factor in, well, you know, what's my risk if I do this or if I don't do this? And my opinion is, I mean, even if people are living in the city and they've got chlorinated water, I still think it's better for them to be doing than not doing it. That's for sure. Okay, well, we'll take a couple more questions, and then let's save that we got. I will do a whole Q&A when I'm done.
I was just gonna ask you about the sprouting lids. If you don't have sprouting lids, is there an alternative?
Oh yes, there is. They're called your fingers. So if you have no lid, and there's a lot, as they say, there's more than one way to skin a, you know, yeah. You might be a cat lover or a dog lover. So I kind of hesitate to say that. We have 3 cats, we have 1 dog, we love animals, but that's a phrase, you know. So the same thing with sprouts. There's more than one way to do this. So you don't have to have, this is I think it's a quart mason jar, half-quart mason jar. And so this is kind of the holy grail, to have something like this with a lid. But if you don't have this, I mean, there's plenty of things. I'm sure I could go through these cabinets and I could find all kinds of containers that you can do this in. And so you can, because lentils are big, you can even use your fingers and you can pour out the water that way. You can use a little strainer, pour it out. You can use, you know, nylons that you don't, ladies, you don't use anymore. You can use a cheesecloth. There's all kinds of ways. The idea is just to get the water out. And I also, this is a little tip, that when you're growing in jars, you do want to make sure that when you pour the water out, that you get all the water out, because you don't want these seeds to be sitting in water when they're growing. Now you can get these on Amazon too. These are just little sprout holders, and so you can just put it like this. And you can put it in on top of a little plate, so any water that does come out as it's sitting there will go onto the plate. And so many times, you know, tipping it is a good habit, but it's not necessary. If you get all the water out when you pour out the water, make sure there's nothing in there, you can just take it and just sit it like this. You can stick it under in your cabinet, under your sink. So like I said, there's more than one way to do this. But so with lentil sprouts, here's what I just explained to you. So here I put let me see, is that, okay, so this was one time I did it. I put the seeds in, filled the jar up with water. And then 5 hours later, you can see, look, those seeds have just, they've doubled, that's right. And in this particular situation, the jar that I used wasn't big enough, so I had to pour them out into another jar because I had too many. So then you just pour them out. Here's another way. You can just put them in a little container, plastic container, and keep the water out. And then Tuesday morning, so we're starting, when did I say this started? So Monday morning, 5 hours later, pouring out the water. Tuesday morning, one day, they're starting to sprout. And then by Wednesday, the whole jar is full. And I actually took them out and put them into another jar because I had too many. So that's how you grow lentils. Now, if you want to go to the next stage with growing microgreens, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there. In my course, I walk you through everything, which is very simple. So you take a tray like this. You can get these trays at Walmart or Lowe's. You know, they're just little gardening trays that you're growing seeds in.
Is there holes in the bottom?
No. Yeah, now some sprouters will put a tray with holes into a tray that has no holes. And maybe you'll put some little rocks in there, so the tray with holes sits on top of the rocks, and then underneath is the tray with no holes, so when you pour water in and water it, the extra water will go out into the bottom tray. I've learned that I don't need to do that. So I never anymore use trays with holes. So this is just a 10 by 10. You can buy it, like I said, at Lowe's, Walmart, Home Depot, any garden store. And so what I do with something like this, and the same method with the sunflower and with the wheatgrass, is that I will take my tray and then I will buy a bag of organic potting soil. And you can buy these anywhere, and there's all kinds of different varieties. And then I fill the tray halfway up with the soil. And I pack it down and I even it out so it's nice and it's not mountains, you know, it's nice and even. And then what I've learned to do is to take my seeds. And so this is buckwheat. I bought a can of buckwheat seeds, and then I sprinkled the seeds on top so they're level, they're not on top of each other, but there's just a good bed of you try to do one layer, but of course it's not an exact science. You might have some on top of each other, but that's okay. So you just lay them out, and I do the same thing with the sunflower. I sprinkle the sunflower seeds, and these are black oil sunflower seeds. And you can get them from a sprouting place, or you can also get them, you can try it from, like in Priest River, I got a big bag of black oil sunflower seeds for $20 for the birds. It was bird seed. And I tried to sprout them, and sometimes they do outstanding. Sometimes they don't. But you can get a big bag of them. So I've got my sunflower seeds.
You leave them in the shell?
Yes, they're in the shell. So these are black oil sunflower seeds that are.
For the birds, all winter long.
Yeah, I feed them to the birds. So try to sprout them, see if they'll grow. Sometimes outside my bird feeder, you see this, they're growing on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? So they'll sprout. Many times they'll sprout. So I put a layer of the sunflowers. I put a layer of the buckwheat. And same thing with wheat seeds. Hard red winter wheat seeds. That's the one you want for wheatgrass. Hard red winter wheat seeds. And you hold on, and then you sprinkle them on. Same thing. And I've learned how to do this. It's trial and error. The more you do it, it's like when you're married. The longer you live with your spouse, you get better at being a partner. And so same thing with sprouting. There's a learning curve. But the more you do it, you learn. And so I put the seeds on there, and then what I do is I will spray them down. Sometimes I'll use my spray bottle, my handy dandy spray bottle. Sometimes I'll take them over to the sink and I'll turn on the spray feature on the sink, and then I just give them a good soak. You don't want to drown them, and you don't want to dry them out. So I don't want puddles in my dirt. And I've learned how to do this. So you spray it down, then you take another tray, cover it, and let it sit for 24 hours. And then after 24 hours, I'll take the cover off, and then I will typically use my spray bottle and give them a good spray. Now with sunflowers, this particular batch, sometimes they don't have this, but this particular batch, when I take the lid off, after a day or two, there'll be a little bit of mold that I can see. Now that is not a deal killer. This kind of mold's not going to kill you, but I don't want it. So what I do is I put inside my spray bottle, I put maybe a tablespoon, I just pour a little bit in there of 3% hydrogen peroxide, which you can buy at Miller's for about $1. Or I put grapeseed extract. And because both of these are mold killers. And so I put a few drops in there. And so whenever I see a little bit of mold in the early stages, I will just spray that. And then I'll make sure they're moist, and then I cover it again. The next day, 24 hours later, I take the lid off, and I do the same thing. And if I'm having a real problem with mold, but not too bad, then like with this particular batch, I took the lid off fairly quickly and put it on my kitchen counter in my office and opened the window just a little bit and put it right in the sunlight coming from the window, because sunlight and air, mold doesn't grow very often in sunlight and air. So, and then I keep it moist, and then once they start growing, then I water them under the sink. I just sprinkle them So the idea is the right amount of water, not too much. You don't want them to dry out, but you don't want too much water. So these pictures you can see here is what I'm talking about. So that first tray on the bottom is buckwheat. The second tray is a fava, I believe that's fava beans, which is kind of an exotic bean, and it just grows really well. F-A-V-A, fava beans. And then the third one there looks like, I think it's the sunflower. And so in this particular situation, I covered them with just a cloth. And so then after a couple days, you can see those are both sunflower. They are growing. And this particular batch, there's no mold in there at all. And like I said, I try to give it just a good solid bed, not too many, not too few. And then that was probably after about 4 days. And then here you can see them growing more. And you see those little tiny hairs? That's not mold. Those are just little hairs that sometimes come from the roots of the seed. And on the right, this is the buckwheat. Buckwheat, and I really like buckwheat. It's one of my favorite. And this is the fava beans growing after a few days. And so there you can see all of them, the fava, the buckwheat, and the sunflower. And then, now here's another, so the tray, this is called a sprout garden. And these come in little trays like this. So there's the base tray, and then there's the growing tray, and then there's the covering tray. And so with these, this is a purple Rambo radish. I do not like radish in my garden, but for some strange reason, I like the kick that comes from the purple Rambo radish microgreens. So what I do with these, and you can buy these on Amazon, what I do is I start with a tray, and then I put it under the water so it'll be moist, and then I sprinkle the seeds on there, just, so they're not too many, just the right amount. And then at that stage, then I always use a spray bottle because I don't want to put them under the sink and blast them around. I want them to be in their little places, and then I spray them. And I typically will do this twice a day. So I cover them, take the lid off, check them, spray them. Put it back, cover them, take the lid off, spray them. And so here you can see on the screen here, I believe this looks like alfalfa. So sometimes I start the alfalfa in the jar, and then once they start growing, I pour them into the green tray. Or sometimes I just put water on the tray and then sprinkle the seeds on and then keep them moist. And then you'll see after a few days, they're growing. Now let's see, it looks like on the right are the purple Rambo radish. On the left, I believe that is alfalfa. And that other jar, this is green clay. I got this from somewhere. And green clay has a lot of nutrients. So because this is all water, this is hydroponic, sometimes I will sprinkle a little bit of green clay around it or on it in the early stages because it's giving them more nutrition. So that's an option.
Diatomaceous earth.
Yep, diatomaceous earth would be fine. That would be just fine because you're getting nutrition there too. Right.
On the garden trays, you don't need to put dirt in there on those.
For these, there's no dirt. This is hydroponic, just water. These are bigger seeds, wheatgrass, sunflower, buckwheat. These are with dirt. Half of it up with organic potting soil. Now this is a purple cabbage. These are small seeds. And this is with this, I have a little mat. It's called a micro mat. And so I don't know if it's going to hold up if I do this. You can see the little mat. So the mat absorbs, it's organic, and it absorbs water and holds water. So with these, I put the mat in, cut it to size, and then I put it under the water so it's nice and moist. And then I sprinkled the little seeds on top of them. And then I used the spray bottle, and I got them a little more moist. And then I put a lid over it. And then probably every 24 hours, or maybe a little bit less, I will check them, and I'll give them some more little moisture with my handy-dandy spray bottle. And I think, let's see, sunflowers are typically 2 weeks. So I started these 2 weeks ago. Buckwheat is about 10 days. So I started this about 10 days ago. This purple ramble radish grows faster. This is about a week. And the wheatgrass typically takes 10 days. And I think I started this, I think about a week ago, maybe a little bit more. And you can see they're just growing right up. So these are all options. There's lots of options when you get into this. So this was some of the pictures I took. I believe I did this for my course. And you can see here, it looks like those are fava beans or they're peas. And here we have, let's see, what is that? I think I don't know what that is. Clover or buckwheat, I'm not sure. And so then on the back there is the buckwheat. And then there's the purple rambo radish. And then it looks like alfalfa and clover growing in those trays. And you can see the early stages on the left, and then after a few days, you can see them getting bigger. And so here they are again, getting bigger. And then here they are when they're all completely, that's the buckwheat. The buckwheat buckwheat is very, very mild. It has just a nice flavor. And you can see the buckwheat, it pretty much eats up all the dirt. So there was dirt in here, but now there's just roots. It ate it all up. Same thing with the sunflower mostly, and the wheatgrass as well. And the wheatgrass, there's not much dirt left in there. And sometimes I'll feel the side to feel, does it need water? And once I use a spray bottle when they're small. When they get bigger, I'll put them under the sink, and I'll just go with the spray bottle, with the nozzle. And then when they get bigger, I might just put one stream down the middle. And once I kind of tilt around to see if there's water in there, I might pour a little water out into the sink if I have too much water in there. And by this time, you're not getting dirt in the water. It's just going to be water coming out, so you're not pouring dirt down your drain. And you learn how to do this. And the more you do it, it gets easier. And there's no mold on this wheatgrass at all. There's no mold anywhere on any of these. They are all just growing great. So your question's answered. All right, here we go. We'll take you first. Yes.
So you can grow any of these in any of those varieties. It's not like that one has to be in dirt. This one's a hydroponic. You can use any seed in any type of growing.
Yeah, you could it varies. So like with wheat seeds, you can grow wheat seeds like this without any dirt, and the wheat seeds will grow in here, and they're rather sweet, and you can try it and see if you like it, and you can grow wheat just like the lentils, and then you can put it in your salad and see if you like it. If you're going to grow it into wheat grass, it's better to have it in soil. Now you can grow wheatgrass on a mat or without any soil. But I've learned there are certain seeds, when you're growing them into the microgreen stage, that do better with soil. Now, I've tried to grow sunflowers hydroponically without any dirt. They'll do it, but it's harder. So for the sunflowers, they want the dirt. For the buckwheat, they want the dirt. For the wheatgrass, they want the dirt. For something like this, for the smaller seeds, you either use a micromat or you put them into a tray like this. This is great for alfalfa, for broccoli, for clover, but I wouldn't put broccoli or clover in dirt because you don't need it. You don't need it. Okay, where's the next question? Here and then here, okay?
Question, what do you do after you harvest it all? It looks like that tree is pretty much done right now. So
Yes.
What do you do with the stem? Are you going to put it into a compost pile?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So the buckwheat, there's not much dirt there. It's all, so the way I harvest these is I just take where's my scissors? It's somewhere around here it is. So this would probably take me 5 salads for this tray. And all you do is just take your scissors and just cut as low as you can, but you're not in the dirt. One reason why I don't put dirt on top, I just put the seeds on the top of the dirt is because I don't want dirt in my greens. So I've learned to put down your bed of dirt, put your seeds on top, keep them moist, and when they grow up, there's no dirt in any of this. And so with this, all I'll do is I'll just start cutting. And it's going to, so when I have a salad, I might say, okay, I'll take this much, and it goes right into my salad. I'll take this much, just cut it, and it goes right into my salad. I'll take probably a fifth of this, it'll go in my salad. And maybe a little dash of lentils, it'll go in my salad. And then I put some, avocado or whatever else, and I'm using my seasonings, and it's just off the charts to do that. No, this is my lettuce. So this is buckwheat lettuce. But of course you can add lettuce. You can do whatever you want. There's all kinds of things to do. But now another tip I need to tell you is with the seeds like buckwheat or sunflower, when you grow them to this stage, you do want to put them, you don't want to grow them on the edge of your counter because these will start shedding their seeds. And what I do is once they get to the point where they're big enough, if there's a few seeds left, I will just pick them off or put them somewhere else. And so I don't have hardly any of the shells left. And then when I harvest it, I may pick a few off. But if you do have some shells in it, it's not a deal killer. My wife likes them all gone. It doesn't bother me. You really don't taste them. It's just extra fiber. And you just eat it. So it's not a problem. With the buckwheat too, you do want to have this, you want to grow it so it's not on the edge of your counter or you're going to get seeds on your floor. And so with the bigger seeds, you want to move them away a little bit. You do need to have some kind of a space somewhere if you find a space. So there's a little more to do with doing these. There's very little with this. You can put purple ramble radish on the bottom, put a lid on top. You can put another tray on top and do your buckwheat or your clover, and then put another lid on top, and then you can do your alfalfa and put another lid on top. So you got a stack of 3 different kinds of sprouts or microgreens. So that's what these are designed for. They're called the sprout garden. So there's different little tips, and that's what I explain in my course. And so people see the whole thing, this video. So you log in and you see me doing, you'll see how to grow the sprouts. There's a whole sprouting section. Then there's a section on growing microgreens in dirt. And then there's a section on growing microgreens without dirt. And I explain everything. You see my daughter, my son in there, and Abby taste tests. And so it's a lot of fun. Okay, yes?
Is there gluten yet in that wheat?
Is there what?
Gluten.
I've been asked that quite a bit. I don't think that sprouted wheat is going to be a problem for those that are gluten intolerant. Now you should Google that, do some homework on that. But once the seed starts sprouting, it changes significantly. And I don't believe it is a problem. Now some people also think that, well, what about like the alfalfa that had some kind of diseases? That was really only for those who are commercial growers. I've never seen people who have that problem for home growers. It's nothing I've ever worried about. And I've been doing it, like I said, I'm almost 66. Since I was 17 or 18, I've been growing sprouts, and I'm still here.
Can you sprout garlic?
I've never done it. I do this last year. I did grow garlic in my garden, and I'm still eating it. It's good. I've now, stored over the winter, and I'm eating it. And if you have a garlic bulb and you don't eat it for a while, it'll start growing. And so you can either take that and put it in your garden, or you can still eat it. So it's getting sprouts.
I've grown just alfalfa with a bottle. I got some growing down. I always thought you had to have a lot of sunlight. I mean, it doesn't sound like you're putting this in the sunlight.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. My experience is that you don't need any more sunlight than what we're getting right now through the window, even on a cloudy day. Now you can grow alfalfa in a jar. With the little seeds, if you grow them in a jar like broccoli or alfalfa or clover, I would only soak them for about 3 hours. And then you pour out all the water and you can, tip it in or just get all the water. And then you rinse it, once or twice a day. And then the alfalfa will grow right up as well in the jar. And once they get big enough, if the jar is sitting on the counter, they will get the sunlight and the leaves will start greening up. The problem with that, though, you got to be careful. Sometimes it's a challenge to get it out of the jar because they get so, it's like they're so tight in there. So with broccoli, I like to grow, my preferred way to grow broccoli is in a jar, soak them about 3 hours, keep them moist, and as they grow up, and I like to keep them out of the sunlight because the leaves then are yellow and it's sweeter. And so then, once it starts growing up, I will take the lid off and I'll just pick some out and put it on my salad. And then I'll let them keep going for a while and then take more out and put it on my salad. But you can, another way, the way that I normally grow alfalfa is in something like this. So they will grow up and you'll get a full tray of alfalfa rather than the jar method. But you can do either one. Okay, here and then back.
I've been growing them since the 70s myself. I use 1 to 2 tablespoons of seed. It looked like you filled it about halfway full with the lentils.
Yeah, I stopped being a scientist about how much, you can measure and you can do that for sure, but I've learned I don't really need to do that. If I overshoot in my jar, then I just pour some of this into another jar. So that's the way I do it. But there's a lot of people, a lot of websites that'll recommend, 1 tablespoon or half a teaspoon or whatever it is to get things going. And I've learned that it's really not necessary to do that. You just, you eyeball it and you figure it out as you do it, how much you need. Okay,
What
yes.
about storing? I've seen people put them in the refrigerator to keep them longer. Is that?
Yes, good question. This is an important point. When you're ready, many times I will eat them right in this stage. But if I can't eat them all, then I will cut them and put them in a baggie, and put them in the refrigerator. And you want to make sure that you do that when they're not wet. So when it comes time to put them in the fridge, let's say I can only eat half of this, which sometimes that happens, I will then cut off the rest of this, put it in a bag, but I hadn't watered it yet, so you water it every, twice a day. So if I water in the morning, in the afternoon, that's when I'll cut it off and put it in my refrigerator. Because if you put wet sprouts in a refrigerator, they're going to go bad quicker. They'll last longer if they're on the dry side. That's right. And if you don't use all your seeds during your growing season, you can put your seeds in the refrigerator or in the freezer, and they'll last longer. My wife's parents live right around the corner from here, and Monica gave me once a big container of alfalfa seeds that were sealed that she had purchased. I think it was like a pound or 2 pounds of seeds. And she said, I've had this in my cabinet, my pantry, for like 8 years. And she said, I'm not using them. You can use them. So they sprouted just fine, very well. So, and if you start having some problems with some seeds, like if you get some seeds from the feed store, from sunflower seeds, and if they don't grow well, or if they get more mold, then it just might be the seeds just they're too old. So you have to try to figure out, is this something salvageable, or is this ready for, and someone asked about the compost pile. So like with these, there's still roots here, and there's not much soil in there, but when I'm done with this, I will take the rest of that, and I have it's an old trash basket that's been washed out that we don't use, and so that's by my wood pile. And so during the winter months, I will take any organic matter that's left and I'll just put it in the basket. And then when the spring comes, I will haul that out to the garden and it goes on my raised beds. You know, by the way, here's a little non-sprouting tip, but I've learned that if you have a bucket of food scraps, which we typically will have, you know, banana peels or eggshells or whatever, and when the spring comes, before you're planting your garden, I will take that and put that right into my bed. I take a shovel and I kind of mash it up a little bit, and I dig a little trench, pour it into the raised bed, cover it with dirt, and by the time I'm ready to plant, you know, a month or 2 months later, there's so many worms there, and you'll have a great garden. You don't have to go through the compost stage and then this stage. You can just put them right in to the raised bed, and that works fine. So, okay, another question. Yes.
Would you change any of your method if you were growing in glass or clay instead of plastic?
Probably not. Clay is good for chia seeds. You can grow chia seeds on a tray, but it's a little trickier. And these are really the staples that I use. I do need to get some more fava beans because I really like fava beans. And peas also grow well. Now, some of you might be wondering, once you harvest them, can you regrow them? With the buckwheat, once it's done, it's done. With the sunflower seeds, it's the same, although sometimes when I cut these off, there's still some underneath it. Like here's a little one that hasn't come up yet. So I might go above the little ones and then water them, and I'll get more. With the wheatgrass, I've tried this. It doesn't, the second crop is not as good. So I won't grow a second crop with wheatgrass. Now with peas, that's a different story. When you grow a full tray of peas, you can cut those and you can eat them, and peas are very good on a salad. And they will regrow. You can get 2 or 3 good crops of peas. So it depends on the seed. Some it's just once, some you can grow them again. Yes.
How long did it take to grow them to this stage?
Yeah, so this was 10 days. This was 7 days, 7 or 8 days. This was 2 weeks. This was 10 days, and I believe this is 10 days. And this is 3 days.
Which one was 2 weeks?
The sunflower.
Okay, thank you.
Sunflower takes a little bit longer for some reason. So what I do when I get an invitation to do a sprouting seminar, I'm doing another one in Post Falls, I think it's April 6th, at a church there. And so I look at my date. Like for here, it was, what's today, March 9. So I said, okay, March 9, I know I'm going to be here. So I calculated 2 weeks back, and that's when I started my sunflowers, 2 weeks ago. And then I counted 10 days back, and that's when I started my buckwheat. And I counted 1 week back, and that's when I started these on Thursday, I believe, a week ago Thursday. This was 2 Sundays ago. I believe I started these, I think it was a Wednesday, but I, because after doing this so many times, I know approximately how long it takes to grow each crop. So I get those started in advance so that when I'm here with you, everything's, and I thought, thank the Lord, it all worked out just perfectly. I got everything's just right because I kept thinking, I hope to, keep going. I hope that by the time I get to the Spirit Lake Church that everything's at the right stage, and it is. So yes.
I just wanted to reconfirm, so I've got my tray, and I got my dirt, my sprouts or not sprouts, but seeds on the top, and then you talked about the watering, you don't flood it, you just put a little bit on, and I'm picturing mine going all over my counter every 24 hours. So do you make sure that you don't put enough water on it, it will never come out of the dirt or the...
Well, if your tray is solid, so this tray is solid.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so there's no water coming on my counter. Yeah, now there is a little bit of, like I said, when the seeds, when it starts growing, I will get, like even right here, I've got some buckwheat shells here, and there's maybe a sunflower shell over here. So what I typically do I have a nice, on our property, I have my house, and right next to my house is our 5,500 square foot building where I work. It's a 2-story building, we have a big studio. We have a staff of about 10 of us working in White Horse Media, which is a Christian production ministry. We do programs on the Book of Revelation and all kinds of things. And we have a kitchen upstairs, so there's no commute for me, which is great. I just go right over there and go to my office, which is upstairs. And upstairs is a kitchen. And the kitchen has a big table. And I'm the owner of the property, so people know that they can live with the fact that I have my sprouting. I've got a stack here where I put my supplies, and then I use some of the table for growing the microgreens. And so when some of the staff, there's a refrigerator there, and if they eat, I give them plenty of room, and I've also got room to grow these as well. And so because I like to be neat, when I get there, maybe early, I will lift up this tray. If I water it, I might take it over here to the sink, and I'll probably just I don't need the spray at this point, so I just use a straight, and I put it right under here. I give it a nice, water, and then if there's any extra water, I will pour that out. And there's no dirt coming out of this because the roots have eaten up the dirt. And then I'll put this kind of on the side, and I'll do the same thing with the sunflower. Do the same thing and put that on the side. And then I have another little tray, and I just, it's generally not wet, so I just sometimes use a napkin, and I just get all this over to the side, and I put it in a little container. I don't normally use my hand. And then the tray is clean so that when our staff comes, they don't have to see all the seeds. And so I've learned how to do this, and it works just fine.
If we don't have a lot of natural sunlight, should we use a grow light?
You can try it. I think it'll probably work. On Amazon, you can get for like $25. You can get a little grow light that will clamp onto the side of your counter, and then it has these little arms, and you just push the button, and the light comes onto your seeds. And I've tried that. I didn't really notice any major significant change. With that, you can have the light on it all night, whereas what I typically do is, when it's dark, and when it's light, and I've learned there's plenty of light coming just from the windows. So I grew all this without grow lights. You don't really need grow lights to grow these. I like to keep things as simple as possible.
How much dirt do you put in?
Yeah, half full. And so like I said, it's just a bag. You buy a bag of organic potting soil. That's what I like to use.
Organic?
Yeah, organic. I prefer, because you can get, if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart or any nursery, you can find organic potting soil. And I prefer that because you never know what's in this soil, so I want it to be organic.
Is it better to start with organic if you can on these, on the seeds, or does it matter?
Well, that's what I use. So this one, and this one are in soil, and this is organic potting soil. But if you have other potting soil, and you don't have organic potting soil, and you don't want to waste the money when you bought a bag, I would use the bag.
So you could use like seedling starter soil?
Any kind of soil. I mean, you can go in your backyard and you can dig up your dirt in your backyard if you want. I've done that too. But now I find it's just easier for me to just buy a bag of potting soil, and I stick it under the big table that's in the kitchen, and I just cut it up. And so when I put it on there, I have a scooper, and I just do my best to make sure that the dirt comes in the scooper into the tray, so I'm not putting dirt on the counter. You just be careful, and if you do get a little bit of dirt on the counter, then you clean it up. Okay, Lynn.
Do you worry about the seeds being organic or regular? Does that matter?
I don't worry about that anymore. There's a grower that in my course, if you were to purchase my course, I give all the details about where to get your seeds, supplies. I use a company called True Leaf Market. They are in Utah, and one of the CEOs
Mr. Garlitz, he and I have talked many, many, many times. He actually gave me he gave me this, because I told him I'm going to be promoting your business in my course. Would you be willing to give me some free supply? So he gave me this hurricane juicer. And anyway, I asked him that question once, and he said for himself, now they do have organic seeds in their line of seeds, but he said for me personally, it doesn't make a difference to me, because if you do have a plant that's been sprayed, the plant puts its best into the seed, because that's the next generation. And there's not a lot of the spray that's on the plant that probably gets into the seed. And even if there is, it's a very, very small amount. So when that seed starts growing, the nutrients will grow, but the Roundup is not doubling and tripling and quadrupling. So from his perspective, he doesn't worry about it. So for me, when I buy my seeds, whether they're organic or whether they're not, to me, it doesn't really make a difference. Now, for some of you, it may, and that's fine. If you are more of a purist and you want to get only organic seeds, by all means, do that. So it's up to you.
I wanted to say too, we have a local co-op, Azure Standard.
Yes.
And we have drops in Hayden and in Athol. They have tons of seeds,
Yep.
organic seeds, heirloom seeds, plus they've got starter plants.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, they do. So Azure's a good place. And there's plenty of places to get seeds, yes.
So going back to the roots real quick.
Okay.
Is there a reason why you don't just rinse them off real good and eat them?
You mean the roots at the bottom here?
Yeah.
You could try it, but
Do they have
this
nutrients
still, they probably do. This has quite a bit of the buckwheat seeds on the bottom. So there you'd have to really, and there might still be some dirt in there. Yeah, there's still a little bit, so I wouldn't do that. I mean, if you get a clean batch of seeds, now like with, let's see, this, so here, imagine I was at a restaurant. Let's see if I can do this. I don't know if I can or not. So I'm your waiter, and I'm coming to your tray. Here's your, so see, there's no dirt in there. So this is different. So typically with this, I will cut it off with the scissors, put it right in my salad. You could try eating the roots. I'm sure it's probably very healthy. There's no mold there. And purple ramble radish has a kick to it. It's kind of, some people like food that has a kick. And like I said, I don't like radishes generally, but I do like these. They add a little zest to my salad. And if you wanted to try to eat the roots, I don't think they're going to hurt you. That's for sure. And they do have nutrients in them, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Yes.
Since 17, you haven't tried the roots on anything that you've grown?
I've eaten these, the roots for the purple ramble radish. But I've never, like I said, when you're growing something in dirt, there's still some dirt in there, not much, but I never eat those roots. I just put that in my bucket that goes into my garden. Yes.
How about room temperature?
Good question. I'm glad you asked that. And I explain this in my course. One of the reasons why people struggle with mold is because, one of the main reasons is because the temperature is too warm in the room. That's right. So that's why I typically grow my now with sprouts, you can grow these any time of year. With your microgreens, I prefer to grow them in the winter months because it's cooler in our building, and I turn the temperature to about 68 degrees, 65 maybe, in the room. And then, like I said, I open the window a little bit so it'll get some fresh air. But if I was doing that in the middle of the summer, and it was hotter unless you have air conditioning. Now, if you have air conditioning, it's probably not a problem, but you just don't want to grow things in a hot house because it's going to be harder. Now, there are some plants that thrive on that, but the plants that I grow the most are plants that do better in a cooler room. I find that I have less problems with mold. That's why in the late spring and in the summer and in the fall, my nutrition is mostly coming from my garden. And then when it gets colder, I'm doing this.
Gosh, that's great.
Yep.
So is 70 considered warm?
I would go down to, you can just experiment with it. Yeah, experiment with it. If you have a cooler room in your house, you might try growing them in a cooler room. Yeah, and experiment and see how it goes. See how you do. Okay, here and then there.
At my house, we have a wood stove going, so it's almost warmer in the house in the winter.
Yeah.
Could you, can you put it in the house and then take it into the garage overnight? There's no light, but you
Sure.
can cool it down.
Yeah, I would try anything. It depends on how far you want to go with this. There was one lady that she gave a little testimony about how my course has helped her husband, and she didn't go into all the details, but he had some serious neurological issues. And when she took my course, she was so on fire for this that she had her husband build right outside in their yard. He built a whole, like a greenhouse area for growing microgreens. And so they had all these shelves and all these trays, and they were growing fava beans, and they went all out. And she told me on the phone, she said that her husband's neurological symptoms have significantly lessened through growing the microgreens. So I have a little. I think it was somewhere back here. Let me see if I can. Yeah, there it is. Wait a minute. So you can see. So if you see over here, here's the kitchen. So there's the refrigerator, and here's the big table that goes way down here. So we have a toaster over on the end, and there's plenty of room in the middle for people to sit down and eat. And I grow on the corner, and then I've got this stack of shelves on the side there. You can see in there's where I have my lids. I have trays on the top. I've got a Excalibur food dryer, so I do dry things like my apples. And when I harvest apples, sometimes I'll cut them up, or tomatoes in the summer. But I've got my little spot. And so, for the husbands whose wife is a little bit, she doesn't really want the spot in the kitchen, then you have to work around that. Or the wife might be very into this. So you just have to figure out, what works for you. But whatever you do, like I said, you can grow a lot. You can get into a regular habit of growing peas and barley and lentils and get a ton of nutrition just with the jar. And then the next step would be these little trays. And then you just have to go as far as you want to go, as far as your spouse will let you go, or you find a place where you can do it. You figure it out.
For me, I have a baker's rack that's just in a window and an unheated room. And in the wintertime, it's cold
Yeah.
in there. Everyone says it's very cold.
Yeah,
But it works fine. It just needs a light.
yeah. So that's where you
And
would
can get a lot
need a
of-
light.
For the footprint.
Yeah, and before I get to your questions, let me also say, when we're done, you can come up here, but I've got a bunch of books here. And so this book is on microgreens by Eric Franks and Jasmine Richardson. And it's full of beautiful pictures, and it gives you all kinds of options, how to grow different kinds of seeds, what to do. So there's an endless variety of things that you can do with microgreens and with sprouts. Yes.
I have
apologize because I know you already said this, but you said you soak the little seeds for 3 hours when you're sprouting them. How long do you soak the large seeds first?
Well, the large, like when I grew the buckwheat here and the sunflower here and the wheat here, I used to soak them overnight and then drain the water until they start sprouting, and then I would put them on the dirt. That's what I used to do. And it worked fine. But now I've learned, why not save a step?
Yeah.
And I've learned that with the bigger seeds, I didn't soak these buckwheat seeds. I didn't soak these sunflower seeds. I didn't soak these wheat seeds. I just put the dirt in, put the seeds on top, watered them in real good with the nozzle because they're bigger seeds. I didn't blast them. So you want to make sure, when you get to your sink, you don't want to go like this. You don't want it to be like that. So I will, get it just right, and then I'll go up and down the tray. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And then when it needs it again, I'll do the same thing. And I've learned I don't need to pre-soak my seeds. I just put them on the tray. I typically will cover them because seeds typically grow under the ground, under a cover. So whether I use a cloth or whether I use a tray on top of a tray, so it's covered, that's the way I do it.
When did you put the lid on? I'm sorry, I forgot. When do you put?
At the beginning. So first you put the dirt in, flatten it out, then you sprinkle the seeds on uniformly, so you don't want 2 or 3 rows of seeds on top, or on top of each other. You just want one nice level of seeds. And then I'll put them under the sink, and with a gentle spray, I'll spray them so they're nice and moist and getting activated, but I don't want puddles.
Right.
And then I put my lid on top. And I do that for 24 hours. And then the next day, I will take the lid off, check them. If there's any mold at all, I'll use my sprayer with the hydrogen peroxide or the grapeseed extract, which doesn't happen very often. I didn't have any problems with the wheat seeds, didn't have any problem with the buckwheat. It's the sunflower seeds that this particular batch of seeds seem to get a little bit. But when you look at this after, when you come up afterwards, there is no mold in this at all. It looks great. So I got it. My mold zapper and the sunlight and a little bit of the airflow from the window, it got the problem. And these are going to be great. So yes.
Will you just do a quick rundown one more time on the jar? You put some in the jar.
Yes.
Fill the jar with water.
Yeah, you just take the jar, you put the seeds in about this far,
Right.
and then you fill it up with water.
Yep.
And you soak it overnight.
Okay.
And then you pour out the water in the morning, get all the water out, and then let it sit. And then you typically will put it underneath the sink twice a day. So you can do it like this. You can just you can go slowly, or you can just take your lid right off and you can just put the water in there, just get it all in there, put the lid back on, pour out the water. So the idea is you give them a bath once. They're soaking in, like when you're in a bathtub, you are in the water. And you give them a bath one time where they are soaking in water to get activated. The little seeds, 3 or 4 hours is all you need. The bigger seeds, 4 or 5 hours is fine for this. Or you could soak it overnight because the lentils, they can handle both. And then you just rinse them twice a day or even once a day. I think with these, I soaked them Thursday afternoon. And I think what happened with this particular batch, I remember, I started them Thursday afternoon, and my plan was to drain out the water in the evening, and I forgot. So in the morning, I woke up, and I saw the jar still with the water, and I thought, oh no, I'm doing my sprouting class, and I oversoaked the seeds. But I poured all the water out, and then in the evening, Friday evening, I put more water in and poured it out. And then Saturday morning, I decided, I don't think I'm going to water them at all until Sunday morning because I want them to get to be a little bit on the lacking water because they'll grow faster. Because when plants need more water, they will grow. So if you time it right, where you give them a little bit of a dry spell, they'll grow faster. And so I timed it, and this is what I got, and they're just perfect for you to look at. And you can try these when you come up in a little bit.
So with the broccoli, instead of putting them overnight for 24 hours,
Yes,
you only do it for...
That's right. I would do it 3 hours because broccoli is a finicky seed. It's finicky. So 3 to 4 hours, pour out the water, and make sure there's no water in your jar after that. Get all that water out. And then the next day, you put water in and rinse them. And then get the water out again. So you're only keeping them underwater one time. And then the rest of it is just once or twice a day, you want to put the water in and pour it out so they stay moist. That's what you want to do. And then they'll grow at different rates. You know, some grow faster than others. Like lentils, you can't beat lentils 3 days. You got a whole jar of lentils. Broccoli, it takes a little bit longer. I saw a hand.
On the lentils, does it have to be airtight or is like that open?
Nope.
It has holes
Nope.
in it?
Yep, lentils are very forgiving. So it's very easy. And like with lentils, I don't buy, now I get a lot of my seeds from True Leaf Market. They got a lot of varieties, but when it comes to lentils, it's Super One or Mitchell's or Walmart or anything like that. Any more?
Once they're growing, you turn it on its side.
After the first time, once you put the seeds in and then you put the water in and you soak them overnight or soak them for 5 hours or 6 hours, they can handle both. Then you pour out all the water and you make sure there's no water left. And then you can put it you can put it like this, you can put it on the side, you can put it on a little, you can stick it in your sink on the corner so that it's angled down. There's many ways to do it, but from then on, you're just putting the water in and pouring the water out, putting the water in, pouring it out. So you just want to keep them moist. So you give them a bath once, give them a shower once or twice a day, so they stay moist. Yeah. Any more questions? I got a couple more slides when you're ready. No more questions, and then you're welcome to come up. And if you want to, you can clip a little bit of these sunflowers with your finger, and you can try it. You can do the same thing with the purple ramble radish. You won't want to do that with the wheatgrass because you don't want to eat wheatgrass. Like I said, the hurricane juicer is what I use for the wheatgrass. I cut it off, I put it in there, I crank it, and then the pulp comes out and the juice comes into here, and then I pour a little bit of grape juice in there, and then I might pour it into, I have a cup actually. I just grabbed this from the cabinet because I couldn't find anything else. But something like this, I have a cup that's about like this. And then I put the juices in there, wheatgrass, and then I put some fruit juice in there, and then just down the hatch.
Is that a meat grinder?
No, it's a wheatgrass juicer. This is for wheatgrass, specifically designed for wheatgrass.
And that company that sells that stuff, what is
It's called a Hurricane, and I believe I got that from True Leaf Market. Yeah, True Leaf Market. So those are you've answered the question. Here's our website, sproutingwithsteve.com. If you are interested in joining my course, in the course I teach you how to grow all the things that I've shown you here, mostly wheatgrass, buckwheat, purple ramble radish, fava beans, peas, and I walk you right through the course, right through it. One more thing, this is a totally separate subject, but I thought I'd show you one slide. I do have another online course called Grow Your Money with God, which is all about finances. If people are struggling with money issues, so this seminar is about your health, your body. And I also have a course teaching people how to, just be more responsible, cut their costs, make sure that we get a good job. And then I have a whole section on should we be investing our money? If we are, how do we do it in a way that is sensible and balanced so that we can grow our funds for the future? So that's what this whole course is about. It's a very deep course. I believe in it totally. Maybe sometime I'll do a finance seminar here. I think they already had a finance seminar here a little while ago. So if you're interested, growyourmoneywithgod.com. Because I call it Growing with God because I want it to be a spiritual course where we're praying and saying, Lord, how do I do this? So that's why it's that as well. So I think that is my last slide. So,
So if you sign up for the course, is it one of those things that you sign up and you can access it later?
yes, with both of the courses, the sproutingwithsteve.com or the growyourmoneywithgod.com, the Sprouting with Steve course is $49, $49.95. The finance course is $97, which to teach you principles that you can grow your income for the rest of your life, I think it's very reasonable. And with both of those courses, once you click and you join with your credit card, then you get an email with your login information. And then that takes you to the private member website, the Sprouting site or the finance site, and then you can log in. And with the Sprouting course, you can click the videos and watch me growing them, the sprouting stages, the microgreen stages in soil, and the microgreens without soil. And with the finance course, there's 18 modules, and you go through them at your own leisure. There's no upselling, so you have to pay more for any higher level of the course. It's just one time for the rest of your life. And you can log in at any time for, as long as you want, and do it at your own leisure. So that's basically what you have there. And I think, Matthew, one more thing I do have also, as I mentioned, I've written a lot of books on a lot of topics. I have a lot of hats. I have a health hat, I have a dad hat, I have the husband hat, I have the prophecy hat, the Bible hat, the gardening hat, all kinds of hats. And so out there's a table of some of the books that I have. One of them is called Will My Pet Go to Heaven?, which a lot of people ask that question. It's a book for animal lovers. I have another book called Secrets of Inner Peace, some books on prophecy, and they're all inexpensive. So they're on the table there if anybody would like to learn anything else I have to say. So I hope you've enjoyed this. It's been a blessing to me. Thank you. And the motto of my course is you can do it. So if you'll just, make the effort and get into this, it works and it'll benefit your health for the rest of your life.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is the second time I've been to his course, and I'm still learning. He is a wealth of knowledge. So now we are going to do our free raffle prizes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start pulling names out, and it's whoever comes up first gets the first choice. So what we have right here is a self-watering microgreen.